cover. Overview of the Lowrance company. We are part of what's called Navico Group. Quick history on Lowrance. We're going to hit on MPAs and the 20 and 50 fathom boundary lines. We're going to talk about a radar exclusive bundle for England, a really cool promotion that's going on right now. We're going to dive into understanding sonar. There's a lot of different views, transducers, what does it all mean, which is the right sonar to use in the right situation. MFDs, that stands for multifunction display, those are fish finders. We'll dig into those a little bit. New recon trolling motor from Lowrance has just been introduced. We'll talk about that briefly. New software updates for units from about the last 7-8 years with some cool advances there. And then at the end, we'll grab some questions. So quick overview of where Lowrance fits. We're part of a company called Navico Group. You can see there's about 18 brands that make up the product portfolio with Navico Group. Navico Group, nobody knows that name, who cares, but it's all of these wonderful brands. Atwood, Blue Sea Systems, Marinco, Lowrance is part of that mix. We have a couple other electronics brands, if you've heard of Simrad, kind of a commercial brand, and then B&G is our sailing brand. CMAP listed here. CMAP is our charting. So CMAP and Navionics are the two charting companies in the marketplace. But that's kind of where Lowrance fits within the Navico Group portfolio. Thank you. Quick history of Lowrance. We're creeping up on our 70th anniversary, a couple years away. So this is year 68 for us. Founded in '57. Introduced the first fish locator. We called this the green box. How many of you are familiar with the green box? A few of you there. Sorry to date you there, but that was the very first fish finder. Came out in '59. Became the world's most popular fish finder. Sonar was kind of a cutting edge technology at the time. In 1974, we released the LRG 600. Combining flasher, good old flasher technology with the first paper graph. Then the very popular X16, the paper graph recorder came out in '85. How many of you, X15, X16, any of you run those old units? I have guys today, there we go, one in the back. I still have customers today that tell me that is the greatest fish finder in the history of the world was the X15, X16. 1988 saw the release of the LMS series. So if any of you ran the old LCS, LMS series, very popular series that came before the HDS series. So HDS introduced in 2008. So we are currently on the 6th generation of the HDS family. So we went from HDS, or what we call Gen 1, to Gen 2, Gen 2 touchscreen, moved to Gen 3, then we had Carbon. Live, I've already spoken with some of you this morning that are running HDS Live, that's just one generation back, and then HDS Pro is where we're at today. HDS remains the most popular Lowrance fish finder that we've ever sold. Obviously it's a long history of a wonderful product line. HDS stands for High Definition System. Thank you. All right, on to MPA's 20 and 50 fathom boundary lines. So Mitch and I chatted before the event today that a lot of you have questions about how do we get the 20 and 50 fathom lines into our fish finders to make it easy. There are multiple websites that will provide waypoint information that you could create a waypoint and manually go in and plug in the lat long. It's arduous, it's painful. So what we've done is there is a way to take files from some of these websites. They come in a CSV format. It's kind of it's comma separated is what it stands for. It looks like an Excel spreadsheet. You can actually convert those files into GPX, which we've done, and we've left with Mitch and his team 20 and 50 fathom cards. So if you bring your Lowrance unit to the store, they can pop a card in for you. It takes about 6 seconds to import it in, and you will have the 20 fathom and the 50 fathom line on your unit. You can display it, you can hide it, you can change the colors so that you can see it. You can take a look at the unit that's over at the Lowrance table to see how those lines arrive, but we've made it really easy for you just to bring your unit in. We plug that in for you. We'll also talk a little bit about software updates as well, but we've already done that conversion to make it easy for you. If it is something that you want to do on your own, we just have to take that CSV file. There's a lot of free software online where you could just say, I want to convert CSV to my Lowrance unit, and the software will convert to a GPX file format, and we can import that into the unit to get those lines. But just know for the 20 and 50 fathom line for here in California, England has made it easy for you with that card. Okay, so actually let's hit on the Halo 20 Plus radar. So we do a wonderful Halo 20 radar. It's a 24-mile radar, solid state, just wonderful technology that it's lightweight. It powers on instantly, so this is not an older magnetron that has to warm up and it takes a little while to start collecting information. So that's our entry level. Well, then we move into the Halo 20 Plus, which is same as the entry level, but it adds some pieces here. It is a 36-mile radar. That doesn't really matter depending on how high you have that radar off the water. If you're 10 feet off the water, you're seeing about 6 to 7 miles. Super fast 60 RPM operation. We have presets with this radar so that if you're in harbor mode, offshore, weather, or bird mode, you don't have to do any dialing in of the radar. You select the mode you want. It speeds up, it slows down, it adjusts accordingly based on the environment that you're in. Again, instantly on, no warm-up period. You turn that on first sweep, you're getting targets. Velocity track is probably the coolest feature. That's our name for the Doppler technology. That's color coding targets. So red targets are a possible threat and we need to worry about them. Green is moving away from you and is not a threat. Yellow is stationary. We know it's not moving, it's not a threat either. So at quick glance, that velocity track technology and those color coding, it makes it really easy to understand radar. Simultaneous dual range, so with the Halo 20 Plus, which is the radar that is in this exclusive radar bundle for England, you do get dual range where we can split the screen. We can look at half a mile up close to our boat. We can look at 5 miles, 10 miles out. So we're looking both close range, long range at the same time. And that radar basically acts as 2 distinct radars at the same time. That's normally a big open array feature. We also have beam sharpening. Normal radar sends off a 5-degree beam. We're able to concentrate that beam for better returns. We can cut it in half down to about 2.5 degrees. Radar overlay, so you can take radar, you can put it on top of the chart. It does require heading information. So as long as you have a heading sensor on board or you're getting that heading information, we can overlay radar on top of the chart. That makes it easier to understand what we're seeing. And then also MARPA tracking, so manual target tracking, that does require a full-blown heading sensor to do that as well. But that is the Halo 20 Plus. Really, our most popular radar, I'd say 9 out of 10 folks go with the Halo 20 Plus because of that Doppler capability, the dual range, and the beam sharpening. All right, so let's get into understanding sonar. Handful of terminology that can be used, so I want to kind of take it slowly through a demonstration of what you're seeing on your fish finder versus how a transducer is being sent out. So traditional sonar, standard sonar, chirp, or 2D sonar. What we're referring to is good old traditional sonar. The screen on the left here, you can see that's how your fish finder is displaying information. It's a traditional cone angle, ranges anywhere from about 25 kilohertz to 250 kilohertz, again, all dependent on the transducer that you're using. But we send a signal into the water. Typically it's a cone, depends on how wide that cone is, also depends on your depth. But as fish pass through that cone, you're picking up their information. So if they pass perfectly through the middle of a cone, that's where we get fish arches. We catch them as they're coming and going into that arch, or into that cone, and that's how we display it on the fish finder. Fish don't see that cone. They are, of course, not going to go directly through the middle of it as we hope they would. They're going to be cutting it from all angles. That's why we're looking for arches. We're looking for half arches. We're looking for lines heading in any direction. But that is traditional sonar. It remains the single best way to find fish in the water column. That remains the best way to do that. Next. So traditional also includes chirp. Chirp is, it's kind of a convoluted way of saying a changing frequency. So traditional sonar has operated, let's say in saltwater, we're operating at either 50 kilohertz or 200 kilohertz. Every pulse we send is 50, 50, 50. With chirp, we're still operating right around 50 kilohertz, but it's a range. So let's say we go from 45 kilohertz to 55 kilohertz. Each pulse is slightly different, 45, 46, 47. We go up, we go back. So each pulse is slightly different than the last. What that should give us, depending on the environment, is we're sending better information, we're getting better information back, better separation of targets. If you have fish sitting right on top of each other, if you have fish right along the bottom, you get better separation with chirp technology. And I typically have customers try both. If you have, you'll see on your fish finder 50 kilohertz, or you'll have low chirp. And a lot of customers are like, I don't understand the difference. What's that mean? Play with them. Run it in 50 kilohertz, try it in low chirp, see if you notice a difference. In more shallow water, you're not going to see a huge difference, but play with both of them and see what you prefer as far as clarity, separation of those targets. So 50 kilohertz, if we, in traditional sonar, 50, 83, and 200 are the numbers, the kilohertz that are thrown around most often. 5200 is going to be a good, more powerful saltwater transducer. 83-200 is going to be more freshwater. Still, you'll see down to 300-400 feet pretty easily. You'll see next to them here, 50 kilohertz is the equivalent of low chirp. 83 kilohertz is equivalent to medium chirp. And then 200 kilohertz is a high chirp. We qualify that as pretty much 100 feet or less. We want to be running in that 200 or that high chirp as far as making selections. All right, next we move from traditional sonar to what we call downscan or downscan imaging. So we can see from the image here, very similar to what we just looked at as far as the cone that we're sending. Definitely a more narrow cone. Information is displayed the same as it is for traditional, but we are operating at much higher frequencies. Earlier we were looking at 25 kilohertz to about 250. With downscan, we're looking at 455 all the way up to 1200 kilohertz. So with higher sensitivity, we get better returns, better definition of structure, but we don't pick up fish as well. So if you've ever run downscan, I've heard it from a million customers, when I run downscan, I don't see fish. You do see fish. They appear as these super tiny little specks. When you compare it to traditional sonar, you see a big fish arch. So it looks like, well, this isn't picking it up. It's just the sensitivity can't pick up targets as well that are that tiny. You get better definition of the structure, you get better definition of rock piles and vegetation. If you compare traditional sonar to downscan, it's a night and day difference with structure. So downscan is wonderful for structure. Was talking with a couple folks earlier. There are limitations to that sensitivity. So when you're operating with higher sensitivity, downscan and side scan, don't figure that you will ever be able to see deeper than 100 feet. Deeper than 100 feet, we want to be running traditional sonar. Next. So we have an exclusive feature that we call Fish Reveal. What that does is it takes our traditional sonar and it merges it together with the downscan. So you can see here, downscan, we're getting wonderful definition of that vegetation. In traditional sonar, it's hard to decipher what that is. We probably can figure that that's vegetation. With downscan, we can see it clearly. When we merge those two together, rather than having to split a screen to run traditional and downscan, Fish Reveal allows us to merge it together so we can use the whole screen. we're getting the great definition of down scan, and then we are getting, you can see the fish arches in there, so we're putting the best of both views together, and that's called fish reveal. In our units, that's automatically turned on when you're running down scan. You can go in if you're in a situation where I just want to see the structure, you can turn off fish reveal, but the point of fish reveal is we're getting the best of traditional and down scan all in one view. All right, next is side scan imaging. This is a great graphic. I've heard from thousands of customers that go, side scan's just different. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know how to decipher this. Side scan, same high frequencies as the down scan, 455 up to 1075. Side scan is a bird's eye view into the water. So as you're seeing here, you're sending images, you're sending signals off to either side. What looks like, you'll see the water column kind of separate here. What looks like nothing is no information because we are sending signals off to either side. So you're missing what's directly beneath you. We're covering that with traditional sonar and down scan. But that image really makes it easy to understand what it is we're looking at. Uses of side scan, you cover a lot of ground. When you, especially in shallow water, when you're sending a 20-degree cone in one little area, you're not covering a lot of ground. Side scan allows you to pick things up to either side. Huge for...
Give me the whole bottom.
What's that?
Side
Side text? Side scan?
Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, so side scan, the point of side scan is cover much more ground. You might see something off to the right or left, mark it and go over it with your traditional or your down scan. Side scan is huge for search and rescue. Divers love side scan, absolutely a bass angler's tool. If you're trying to look for rock piles, you're trying to find that sweet spot. It is also wonderful for a tool that we have that's called CMAP Genesis, and that is creating your own charts. If you're in an area where CMAP and Navionics haven't charted that area and charts don't exist, you can actually pop a blank card into your unit, you can record all sonar channels, and you will create charts on your own for that body of water. Side scan helps you cover a lot more territory. So just another shot of side scan here. This is actually a sunken vessel off to the left here. Pretty cool to be able to pick that technology up. Next. All right, live sonar. So live sonar is all the buzz right now. We call our live sonar active target. Active target is it's a transducer, it's a black box, it runs into I think it's the last 3 generations of HDS and the current Elite FS fishing system product. What it is it's 3 different views. It depends on where you're mounting that transducer. So most often it's going to be on a trolling motor or it's going to be on a pole mount system, and that just gives us more options as far as where we're pointing it. I'm out of the Pacific Northwest where we do a lot of salmon trolling, and customers will put this live technology on the transom and they will just follow and watch the bait behind them and how fish are responding. But 3 different views. We have a forward scan, which is basically any direction you're pointing that transducer. You're watching your bait, you're watching how fish are responding. Down view is, I want to understand the full area that I'm looking here. I'm not specifically looking where I'm casting. And then scout view is a more investigative mode, as low as we can get it on a pole or a transom or a trolling motor, and really trying to understand the whole area. The way the system is designed with active target, it is you manually have to adjust where that transducer is pointing to pick up the information that you're looking for. Again, this is a dual mount situation. So we have just recently come out with the ability to put, used to be you'd have one transducer and you had to pick one view that you wanted to look at. What we've introduced is the ability to run 2 transducers at the same time, which means rather than a 90-degree view, you can go to a 180-degree view, or you can run 2 views at the same time. So I want to look forward and I want to look down. You can split your screen and you can utilize those Those are only with our current HDS Pro model, but you can now run 2 at a time and get up to that 180-degree view or do like forward and scout at the same time. So pretty cool that you can do all those. All right, so here's a great live view that shows an individual fish coming up to the bait, hitting that bait. That's kind of how that technology works. Oftentimes we'll hear folks talk about this technology. Kind of looks like the images you see on ultrasounds of newborns. Pretty cool how that works. Next. So here is the active target module. The yellow connection there is our Ethernet network that plugs into the system. So if you have multiple units, you can connect to one and it will share across the network. The transducer, you'll see here, it notes white notches on the transducer help us know in what position that transducer needs to be for scout mode, down scan, or forward scan. And then how we mount them, these are showing down scan versus the a couple ticks up there to get it in forward scan, and what type of coverage we're getting with those. So new shallow arm mount for the trolling motor is one we make. So if you're in really shallow water, we want that transducer right at the bottom of the trolling motor. So the new shallow arm mount makes that even easier. This is the transom bracket. So for slow trolling, the transom bracket does not come in the box. Every other mounting opportunity comes in the box. So if you are intending to mount it on the transom for slow trolling, there is an additional bracket that we need. So if you are running with active target and want a transom mount, we need that bracket. So choosing a right transducer, from a transom mount bracket to through hole to in hole. You have a question?
Yeah. How slow is slow forward?
So the faster you go, the worse the image will be. It's kind of similar to the side scan because it's such a high frequency. But I mean, I'd say 10 knots or less, you're great. Yeah, which 10 knots is not slow trolling, but so understanding that there's a ton of different options. Transom mount versus through hole versus in hole versus a pocket mount. You can actually go to the next one here. So smaller vessels, and this is kind of a guide, but every boat's slightly different. So transom mount brackets are wonderful, easier and cleaner install. What I hear from customers is transom mount, I get to it, I get up on plane, I get to a certain speed, and I start losing the bottom. You start getting bubbles and cavitation and you can lose it. Through hole, we can go much faster before we start losing, getting any of those kind of bubbles. So it all depends on speeds that we want to operate at, depth that we want to work with. We'll talk about some of the Lowrance entry-level products that are really wonderful, really basic, but super simple transducers that just don't have the power to go very deep. So some of the questions in determining what type of transducer is, what kind of boat do I have? What kind of speeds am I operating at? What is it I'm fishing? We talked a little bit earlier with some of the side scan and some of the live technologies. You get into search and rescue diving, like those technologies are more important than traditional, where we're looking for fish in the water column. So some of the common transom mount transducers, these probably look familiar to you, from super basic skimmer. You then move into the saltwater, what we call the HDI. It's a hybrid dual imaging, so it's traditional plus downscan. Then we get into the much larger, more powerful 1K dub transducers, obviously bigger in size. And then we get into the active target. You'll notice when we move from a traditional deucer that's not very big to the big, long 3-in-1 transducer, it's side scan, the elements in side scan that require that transducer to be as big as it is. If we can go to the next one here. So you'll see on those longer 3-in-1 transducers, 2D sonar is pretty straightforward, down scan's pretty straightforward. It's additional elements that we need on each side to be able to pick up that side scan. So those are all the different signals that we send out from those models. Next. So we talked a little bit earlier about fish reveal. That's where we take traditional sonar and we take the better definition structure scan and we put those together. That's in down scan. What we've never had until recently is the ability to do side scan reveal. So that's relatively new for us. It requires a sonar module and it requires a unique transducer. But what that allows us to do is pick up fish arches off to either side, put those on the screen, and you can kind of see there, it's the little green colors that we're seeing in the water column. So it does, in the past, I would tell customers you're never going to see fish in side scan other than those little dots that get picked up. With this opportunity, you can pick up fish now off to the side with fish reveal side scan.
How do your units react to things like jellyfish and pirate zones and just medusa in the water?
Yeah, well, I mean, standard sonar technology, we're sending a signal, we're hitting something and picking up. So things like jellyfish, you're going to get a pretty light return from those. So we're measuring depth and density. How far away is something and how strong a signal. So bubbles will actually pick up, you'll get feedback from bubbles with a sonar return. So as long as we're hitting something, it'll tell us how far away and how strong a signal. It just depends on the type of species that we're trying to pick up there. S3100 is a sonar module. It's kind of an add-on. So if you have units that don't run a 1 kW transducer, for example, the S3100 allows you to buy that sonar box, connect a more powerful transducer, and it does the processing for the fish.
Oh, that nice.
So questions that we get often, we do a lot of consumer shows and we'll run into folks that are, I'm losing bottom, there are challenges with sonar. One of them is sonar interference. So direct lines up and down the screen. This can be caused, oftentimes it's when you're in an area near other boats that are running similar frequencies to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm running two transducers. If I'm running two transducers, they're both operating at 50 kilohertz. They're sending the same signal, they're listening for those same signals, and they will pick each other up and you will get some interference. So options to troubleshoot those are switch to a different frequency. Try low chirp, try 200 kilohertz. If you switch to a different frequency and it's eliminated immediately, you obviously recognize that that's what we're picking up. But most often when you get these, it's either interference from a transducer you have on your boat or you are near another boat that is operating at that same frequency. So it's typically adjusting frequencies so that we can figure out if that is the interference. So more kind of horizontal lines with or kind of diagonal lines is more often associated with electrical noise. So basic troubleshooting for that is shut everything off and turn your fish finder on, then start firing up items to see. When you turn on something, if we start getting those vertical lines, that's when or diagonal lines, that's how we know what that unit is. But difference between those diagonal lines versus just the vertical lines that we're seeing. All right, on to MFDs. That's our fancy terminology for multifunction display. Years ago, it used to be that you bought a chart plotter that came with charts. I'm not fish finding with it. I'm not doing radar with it. We had screens that were dedicated to radar, sonar, or chart plotting. MFDs now, they do everything. It all depends. If you don't connect a radar to it, it's never going to run radar. But the minute you plug a radar into compatible units, you will see a radar icon and it's now doing everything. So multifunction display or MFD, you may hear that terminology. Most of us call them fish finders, chart plotters. Historically we call them graphs. That's what we're talking about here. Lowrance has a product offering that is good, better, best. We start with the Eagle series, we move into the Elite FS that stands for Fishing System, and then HDS, our high definition system. Pro is the 6th and current generation of that model. And as you saw earlier, HDS has been around a long time with all the various generations that we've been working through. So picking the right fish finder comes down to screen size. We do anywhere from a super basic 4-inch fish finder, pretty much focused on depth and trying to see if there's anything in the water column. It doesn't do charting, it doesn't do any other view other than that traditional sonar. And then we go all the way up to a ginormous 16-inch screen with HDMI in the back so you could catch a football game if you're out on the water and you wanted to stream it. As silly as that sounds, these things can do a ton now. So but just size, and then obviously the type of product as far as what connects to it is part of the discussion as well. Next. So other considerations, speed, the processing speed. Good, better, best. We start with really good units, but they're not intended to be processing a trolling motor and a radar and the active target. So the consideration of speed is how much is going to be connected on the network. Setup, Lowrance over the years has really made it easy. You fire up a unit for the first time, you're going to answer just a few questions, and the auto software is really going to put that unit where you need it. And I teased a little bit when our engineers told us, hey, we've really got this unit dialed in. When that was introduced and I started playing with it, going, there's no way our engineers know better than we do. Every boater's different, every body of water, every location. I started playing with their software, and it's like, man, they're right there. They've got it. You know, you might adjust a tick up or down, but the software, when you answer those questions about where you're fishing, what kind of depth, what you're doing, the software, the auto software really dials in. Setup is easier than it's ever been across all generations here. And then finally, compatibility. So if you've got HDS Gen 3 and I'm ready to add a screen, my Gen 3 is running great, but I want to add a new screen today. What is compatible? The transducer that I have in that Gen 3, will it work with an HDS Pro today? So compatibility can be a little bit tricky. That's where our friends at England, and if you stump them, they can lean on me as well, but we can help you dial in and make sure that we're compatible. Mapping is another consideration. Most of our units come with pre-installed charts that look like the big picture here. That is, it's digital charts, looks like the paper charts, but it's digital format, so when you zoom in and zoom out, it adjusts accordingly. We also have additional pieces too, where we have things, satellite overlays, bathymetric data, what looks kind of like we call it the bathy data, kind of looks like the topographical charts for under the water. Those are add-ons to the units. Entry-level units aren't compatible with all the satellite photos, all the bells and whistles for the charting. So it all depends on what it is you're after. A lot of anglers love having every view we can possibly get to make the best decisions. Next. All right, so back to good, better, best. First, let's cover quickly the introductory Eagle series. Next. One more. So Eagle as our entry-level unit. Big bang for the buck, but no frills. It is a push-button only unit. It is a standalone unit. No live technology can connect to it. It doesn't take a large 1 kW transducer. You can't even put an external GPS to it. It's the transducer that comes in the box is what you run with. You can't upgrade that. Built-in charting, you can pop a chart card in, but it'll only upgrade the digital charts. No satellite photos, none of that other info. You can pick the version if you want side scan. We call it, for Eagle, we call it split shot is going to be your traditional and your down scan. If you want side scan, you get the triple shot transducer, which adds that side scan. Next. You have the 3 options with transducer. Super tiny bullet is just the traditional that comes with the 4-inch screen. Split shot is where we get traditional and down scan. Triple shot is where we add that side scan. Those are only options for the entry-level Eagle series. With the mapping, it is the standard charting. We do take CMAP or Navionics charts on the Eagle series. Satellite photos and shaded relief, those are not part of the entry-level Eagle. All right, on to the mid-range. So again, Eagle, big bang for the buck, wonderful product. What we have just introduced is the Eagle i9. It is part of the Eagle family, which means it is a standalone model. You can't network 2 units together. everything we just covered on Eagle is true. However, next. Eagle i9 introduces a standalone unit that does live technology. So at a price point of $1,000 or 50 bucks more and you get a chart card in the box, you get traditional sonar, you get downscan with the fish reveal, and then you get 2 live views. So you can do forward-looking live and you can do down live. 9-inch, $1,000 unit charts. It's traditional, it's chirp, it's all of it. Normally to do that live technology, you're talking $1,700 for the active target, and then you need to pick a screen. So you're talking about $2,500 to start playing with live technology. It's amazing. It's why every show I do, the biggest questions I get are understanding live technology and folks that are excited to utilize it. The Eagle i9 makes that technology more affordable for smaller boats, kayakers that are fishing. So to have all 4 of those views in a $1,000 unit with a big 9-inch screen is a big deal. Go ahead to the next one. One transducer does it all, and unlike active target where you have to physically adjust which direction the transducer is pointing, however this mounts, you get all 4 views, however you have that mounted. So intended to go on a trolling motor, there are also pole mount options, and there is a separate transom bracket as well. So what's different? If you go with the full-blown active target 2, that is the transducer that runs to a module versus the Eagle i9, biggest differences is that active target has 3 elements, so you're getting 3 times the coverage versus Eagle Eye, which is a single element, so it's 1/3 the coverage. You don't get as much of a range based on the pricing. I think we give up a little, but for that price point, it's an amazing opportunity. Same applies for, this is part of the Eagle series, although it's a nice jump up in the Eagle series. The same applies with mapping. You can't do satellite photos or the cool shaded relief. All right, and then just quick overview showing the 4-inch model all the way up to the Eagle i9 and what is included. You'll see like simple things like the Eagle 4X, no charting, can't add a chart card to it, no fish reveal on that one. But that just kind of helps us understand all the various offerings across that family. All right, next is the Elite FS, that stands for Fishing System. Huge jump up from the Eagle series to Elite FS. This product has been around for a little over 2 years. The whole world changed with this new product coming out. It used to be we had a nice entry-level product, and then we had a top-of-the-line HDS that if you wanted to connect radar, if you wanted to connect multiple units together, trolling motor interaction, autopilot, you had to go to the top of the line. Elite FS changed that in that this is a fully networkable, you can connect to our entry-level autopilot, our trolling motor, radar, network units together, live technology works with it. We introduced a 7 and a 9-inch model. Those have been out for the last couple of years. The Elite FS9 is Lowrance's single most popular unit. It's a $1,000 price point. Again, fully networkable, so you add as much as you want to that system. Just in February, we started shipping the FS10 and the FS12. So larger screen sizes now at really wonderful price points. Again, if you don't need all the bells and whistles of fastest processing, best resolution, this FS is a huge bang for the buck. And these the FS series is what we've included in our radar bundle. So the England exclusive radar bundles run with the FS models. Again, just wonderful performers. Compatible with just about every, I think the only limitation is entry-level autopilot, not all of the autopilots that we offer. So larger boats, we would need a HDS Pro. Next. So I think we just hit on all these live sonar. It is touchscreen and limited buttons, whereas Eagle was push button only. Everything's easier with touchscreen. If you'd like live demos, I do have a unit back at my table. Please stop by and I'll show you in 2 minutes. I can give you some quick tips on if you have a Lowrance unit with or without touchscreen, I can walk you through just some quick tips how to dial that unit in, customize it for your needs. But touchscreen does make that easier. Preloaded charts, and then we talked about the new 10 and 12 inch screen. So full networking, go ahead, I think there's a couple more. There you go. So full networking across the units with FS. They will network if you have HDS models and you want to add a new screen, you can add an FS unit. They will network beautifully with HDS. So Elite FS map, with the Elite FS map model, we talked earlier, the Eagle models won't bring in satellite photos. They won't bring in the shaded relief or the 3D bathymetric data. FS will read absolutely everything that is on the CMAP charting easily. All right, and then finally HDS Pro next. So with HDS Pro, we do a 9, a 10, a 12, and then the large 16. Pro is the only model that does the big 16. What you're getting with HDS Pro is a faster processor. This is important when we have all of the devices connected. I've got 2 or 3 units on board and I want everything sharing, playing nice. Full networkability, so for example, I pop a chart into one card, it's networking across the unit. I don't need a card for every single model. 16 and 12 inch units have the HDMI port on the back, so you can actually bring video into the unit through HDMI, so very easy connection there. Dual sonar ports, I didn't mention that on FS. FS is a single sonar port. So if you wanted a powerful low-high Airmar transducer, you can only run low or high. You would actually manually have to switch those connections. With Pro, you have dual sonar up to 1 kW, so 2 transducers connected, processing at the same time. More connections on the back, more Ethernet ports to network it all together. Next. So the Pro model does have the 3-in-1 HD, which is the highest generation, the best clarity on side scan and down scan. We do scout overlay, so if you're running the Lowrance trolling motor with the active target, that scout mode, you can actually do that on top of your screen, which we talked about a bird's eye view of charting. You can match that up with your chart to make it easier to relate to that scout view. 360 is a similar, it looks like side scan, but it's on the trolling motor. You can pick up 360 degrees, you can overlay that on top of the chart. Ping sync is a new feature. When you have active target running and you have multiple deucers running, those are pinging in similar frequencies, but they're firing at different times. What ping sync does is that matches them up so that they're each taking a turn to ping, and it gives us less interference. It really cleans things up. And then active target 2, we talked earlier about the ability to add 2 transducers at a time to give you either a wider view or run 2 views at a time. HDS Pro is the only model that allows you to do 2 active target deucers at the same time. So megahertz scanning, we talked earlier, like you're running a 50 kilohertz or you're running a 200 kilohertz deucer. HDS allows you to play with the frequencies, so if you want to adjust up a little bit. Some folks love playing with the numbers a little bit. You can do that with this one. It includes chirp, and our highest level of clarity, and that's just the faster processing and the highest screen resolution we have is with the HDS Pro family. So that's what the scout overlay looks like. So normally you would just have that view on the screen. When you can overlay it on top of the chart, it just makes it a little bit easier to relate to that view. And then ping sync, again, that's where you're matching it up so that your transducers are pinging. They're each taking a turn to ping so that you won't see interference from them. Active target, we've already hit on that, the 2 different views there. So additional features, we talked a little bit about, well, so you have touchscreen, you have full buttons. Some customers go, I don't like touchscreen, I got junk on my hands, I don't want to mess it up. Full button control, full touchscreen control. There's literally 2 ways to do everything. Whereas the FS model, it's 100% touchscreen and then limited buttons. HDS Pro has the full set. You'll see along the right-hand side, we have 4 programmable buttons. Each one of those you can program to do a short press or a long press. So 4 buttons gives you 8 different features. Maybe you want to take a screenshot. Maybe you want to jump to a favorite screen. You can program those buttons to do what you want to do. Full NMEA 2000, we haven't really hit on that much. Both FS and Pro are full NMEA 2000, which means you can bring in engine information. You can bring in sensors like GPS, fuel flow sensor, any sensors that you want to monitor on the boat. Speak NMEA 2000. HDS Pro on the 12 and the 16, we talked video. Through HDMI, you can bring video into the model. So that is a differentiator between the FS series. Mapping with Pro and the fastest processor, we see all views that are available, satellite, bathymetric data as well. Next. So, quick overview on HDS. It is intended to be fully networkable. Multiple units, trolling motor, engine interface. If you have power poles, those will tie into it. You can connect your radio. We call it buddy boating, where you can actually call someone and it will put their position on the boat. And then obviously transducers. But it's intended with Lowrance products. You pretty much can do everything you want to do. Radar could be in the mix as well. Very straightforward. So by boat type, HDS Pro, we're larger boats, more integrated systems. FS is perfect for medium to small boats. Eagle is where we're in much smaller boats, no intention to connect anything to it. We don't need radar, we don't need active target, we don't need 2 units talking together. So just a quick overview of where that all connects together. All right, so we talked a little bit about, Lowrance has been in the trolling motor business for about 6 years now. We've had the Ghost trolling motor, wonderful trolling motor for freshwater. So England stores, I always apologize to them. It's like we're not in the trolling motor business without a saltwater trolling motor. So the Recon has just started shipping within the last couple of weeks. Next. This is a brushless motor, saltwater version, self-deployed. It's a dual 24 or 36. So if you wanted to have more or less power to it, you don't have to have, like, one unit will run either 24 or 36 volts. Amazing control. I think we'll get it. Go ahead. I think we'll get to the remote in a second here. So we are introducing a new freshwater version that comes with a foot pedal and a remote. The saltwater version that is in both Lowrance and our Simrad brand comes with a remote joystick control. Coolest design I've seen on a trolling motor remote. Next, and we go up to 72 inches currently. So the design of Recon, again, we've been in the trolling motor business for about 6 years. How we started was we interviewed anglers and we asked what is most important about a trolling motor. What we heard was reliability. We know we're going to just pound on these trolling motors, and so we need a well-designed, rugged. And if our Ghost is any example, it's performed beautifully thus far. Recon, we took a little bit of a different approach in that we know things are going to happen to trolling motors over time, and we want you to be able to understand what's wrong and most likely repair it on your own. Next. So quick joystick. Probably the coolest feature is we got a little 2-inch LED screen here that puts full control at your fingertips, easy to understand, but it's the joystick steering. So probably the coolest feature now is the spot lock, where you pick where you want to be and it'll hold your position. The new joystick allows you to say, I'm on this spot, but I just want to jog over here a little bit. So we point the joystick in that direction. The minute you let go, it keeps that spot that you're on. So new design, very cool. And yeah, I'm excited to start shipping this so folks can see what it's all about. Next. So just kind of shows full joystick motion. You can point in absolutely any direction. Yeah, really straightforward as far as how to use it. Next. So overview of the screen, pretty straightforward. You can customize the information that you want to see. So if there was different information, you can change it out there. Battery status, You could change that out as well. Shows the direction. Again, and you can hang the lanyard around your neck just to make it easy to view. Next. So, advanced wireless foot pedal. If you're in saltwater, you're probably not messing with a foot pedal. What's cool about this new design is its Bluetooth connectivity. So you can put it anywhere. In the past, it was a cabled foot pedal, which limited where customers could put the Ghost trolling motor. So the fact that this is Bluetooth, you can put it wherever you want it if you want to include it in a saltwater setting. Next. Compact remote. So this is more focused on connecting with the MFD. So if you want to drop waypoints, if you want to move around on the chart screen, just a quick interaction there. And then obviously turning the prop on and off. Just a smaller version of the remote. Yes.
Are these auto deploy too?
They are not auto deploy. They are self-deploy. I will tell you, I have had an opportunity at a couple shows to play with them. I'm blown away with how lightweight and easy they are to deploy, but they are not auto deploy. I don't pressure my engineers to tell me what I can't sell yet. So I know we're working on, like we only have 2 trolling motor models. There's a lot of markets that we don't cater to yet. I know we're working on it, but how far away we are from auto deploy, I don't know. Compatibility, so the new Recon, it works with the Elite FS series, it works with HDS Carbon, Live, and Pro. So that's 3 generations back. Next. The Simrad version, kind of the same deal, 3 generations back on the Simrad models back to Evo 3. So integration is simple. We power the trolling motor. We have a NVA 2000 connection to the backbone. We have an Ethernet cable or the blue connection here. If you have a Recon with a built-in trolling transducer, you can connect that right into the unit and it shares across the network. Recon doesn't come with a transducer built into the nose cone. That is an add-on if you want to do that, but it just depends on what you're looking for off of that. But easy integration with it. We also have a nice display along the side of the screen that you can call up. If you don't want to be staring at a remote, you do have similar information that you can call up on the side of the screen. The Lowrance app, we won't dive too much into this, but we do have a wonderful Lowrance companion app. It's got charting if you want to do planning, and you can upload and download waypoints and all that. With the Lowrance app, that also serves as a trolling motor remote. Obviously, you're not going to have the joystick functionality that you would with the actual remote, but through the Lowrance app, you can integrate with, connect with the Recon. So we talked about the serviceability. Basically, the way we've designed it is if something happens to your Recon, kind of like on your car, you get a check engine, you read a code, and the code says that equals this. So you're going to be able to, with the remote is probably the easiest way to do it. If something isn't working properly, it's going to tell you exactly what it is. It will direct you to a YouTube video that will tell you this is the issue and this is how you fix it. You can decide, hey, I can do that. I can pop this part off and replace this chip, component, whatever it is. So I think we're very thoughtful in the design of it in that we know reliability is the most important thing. When that trolling motor goes down, you're done fishing. And you're dropping off a trolling motor and you're waiting days or weeks for somebody to repair it for you. We want to make it as accessible as possible to fix the simple things. And we'd notify you too if, no, we really want this going to a service center. But I like the design of just, the thoughtful design of serviceability.
Yeah, you got to learn how to fish all over again.
It's true. It is true. Yes. All right, next. So error code example, you see on the actual remote, it pops up. It triggers the code. It gives you a short description. Visit the app for a full description. So through the Lowrance app, it'll kind of direct you. And if needed, it would escalate you to our tech support team that would direct you to a service center. All right, I think this is about the last component here. So software updates, kind of like on smartphones. We do come out with updates, not nearly as often as Apple does, but from time to time we come out with new software. We do it for two reasons. One is We have a new product like the Recon trolling motor. If you buy a Recon and you connect it to your Lowrance is going to have no idea what this new product is. So excuse me, a software update allows you to recognize new technology. It adds features, and then it fixes bugs. Most often bugs are introduced through software updates, so it's kind of a vicious circle. But that's the 3 reasons to do an update. I tell customers often, you don't have to do software updates. If you call tech support, the first thing they're going to ask you is, what software version are you running? They want you running latest greatest to know, all right, these bugs have been fixed, these features are unlocked, but you buy a unit, you could run it for 10 years, it should always do what it did out of the box. So you don't have to do software updates, but they do add features. 25.1 is the current software that it just came out a couple weeks ago. It's for kind of like the functionality with Recon. It's the last 3 versions of HDS. So if you have an HDS Pro, an HDS Live, or an HDS Carbon, or if you have the Elite FS, or if you're running Active Target 1 or Active Target 2, there's a lot of really cool features for this. So next. So first, it's going to give us the Recon compatibility. So without a software update, it would not recognize Recon and connect to it. Next. Depth routing. So part of Recon depth routing is where you can assign colors to depth. So if I'm fishing 20 to 40 feet and I want my trolling motor to keep me at that depth range, that software update adds depth routing to the connectivity with the Recon. Next. Active target improvements. So the clarity and the color palettes that we use with Active Target have been improved. So you can see improved clarity. Next, I think it shows some of the new color palettes. So yeah, so one to the next. I always ask my engineers, like, how do you qualify better clarity? It's about I don't know, 15 to 20% jump in clarity on a product that free update and your Active Target, your live technology, will display better than it has historically. And more color palettes. There is no right or wrong answer to color palettes. I love blues. You know, my fishing partner prefers yellows. To each their own. It's whatever you think looks best. You have more options. So split screen improvements with Active Target. You'll see in the past we had kind of the black screen on either side. We now fill the screen with full area, so we don't limit the view with that update. And then heave compensation. So with the S3100 sonar module, heave compensation is any swaying action that the boat has. You'll see the difference where the bottom looks like it's got some little ridges, and that just comes from the sonar moving as the boat is moving. So heave compensation, it takes that into consideration, gives you a cleaner returns, cleaner bottom. Legacy sonar networking. So HDS, because it has 6 generations, generations 1 through 3 had a single sonar networking option. Once we got into Carbon and newer, we moved into a multi-sonar operation. So what you basically had to do to run a newer unit with an older unit is you had to slow down the newer unit to be able to network and communicate with an older model. With the 25.1 software, we remove that connectivity because it slows down the unit enough that we've decided that it's probably not best to do that with the newer model. So I think fewer and fewer customers are running into that. The solution is you don't run the latest software. You can run version 23 and still run with that single connectivity. Next. Okay, so it removes the single source sonar mode. Next. Other fixes, so Elite FS max side range has been increased. So the distance at which you could see with side scan has been improved. Side scan interference improvements. Improvements using the Airmar medium chirp. That's some interference issues. Added support for Airmar's medium ultra-wide transducers, which we had not supported previously. Sirius XM improvements, the way, if you have a Sirius weather module, we can display weather. We've just improved how that looks on the units. I think that's it. So download information. Software updates, I typically will leave cards with England stores. You can bring your Lowrance unit in. The cards that I leave for them, it has software updates for probably the past 10 years. So if you bring your unit when you come to the store, they have demo models. We can grab the power cable, power up your unit. They have the software update cards here. They also have the, as we talked earlier, the 20 and the 50 fathom boundary lines. So they can do a software update for you. They can put in the boundary lines for you. All of it takes minutes. Yes?
Are you going to lose all your overlays and everything if they do that?
You will not lose anything. So software updates will not alter waypoints, routes, trails, settings, all of that remains in place. Yeah, the only time you could lose anything, if you ever wanted to do a factory reset on your unit, you do have the ability to say get rid of waypoints, get rid of routes, but you manually have to go in and check a box that says to delete them. So if you ever did a reset, it'll still hold your waypoints, your routes, your trails, your settings. So it is very difficult to accidentally lose that stuff, but not in a software update. Yes, sir?
Can I make a suggestion for the next update?
Yes, please.
First, the special characters. So on the keypad,
Okay.
let's say you put Wi-Fi.
Okay.
You're limited on the special characters, and a lot of Wi-Fi security, they have a bunch of different special characters that don't show up there.
Okay.
The other thing is icons.
Okay.
Icons haven't changed in years.
Okay. Good
And,
point.
we fish for crab, we fish for other things, but there's no symbol for any of that.
Yes.
So that'd be
There's a lot of icons. You're right, they haven't changed, and you're right, there could be more. Yeah. Okay. I will take that back to my team. Yeah. How are we on time? Okay. Any other questions? And guys, I'm here all day. I'm back at the Lowrance table, happy to chat with you, answer questions, show you some quick tips on the unit that we have at the table there. But any other questions that you want to catch me here? Otherwise, I'll see you at the table afterwards. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.